Hey Josh,
Hey, how's it going?
good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Well, it's great to be able to talk to you and talk about a great new album that's already coming out next Friday. I've gotten the chance to be able to check out this album for a little bit of time now. I've given it a good amount of spins, and I really appreciate what you're doing here. Like, I've appreciated you as a guitarist for quite a long time now, and the fact that you're able to continue on with your solo endeavors here and just being able to make all of these just bigger and better every single time around. It's just so cool to see.
Oh man, that's amazing. Thank you so much. That's incredible to hear you say.
Oh, not a problem. And I truly mean it as well. And I hope others will be able to experience that as well, because I really feel like this is an album that is coming out at the right time. Like it kind of needed something like this right now in this time in 2023. Just it feels perfect for the time.
Interesting. How so?
Well, kind of like with the fall season, like it kind of feels like a fall album to me, where you can just put it on in the background. You can see the leaves changing, you can feel the darkness kind of coming in, and with Seance in Black, I think it just fits very well with that.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I wish I had a romantic story to say, yeah, I recorded it in between October and November of, a certain time and a certain, very scary studio. But I think my fall's my favorite time of year. So um, maybe just that mindset just permeates everything, and maybe that's why the fall's an appropriate time to release it too.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that can always come through, but yeah, at least that was the initial impressions I was getting, anyways. So thinking about that, I mean, what was it like to start writing for this album?
Well, I started it as soon as I released my last record, Heart Signal. And that was a COVID record. It came out like right as all the lockdowns were happening. It came out in April of 2020. Um, and so like, as soon as that came out, I was doing promo for it. But I got right into writing new music because um, it's not like I had a ton of everyone's domestic situation, I guess, was a little different at the time, but I didn't have like all of a sudden this wide open schedule. I was still pretty busy, but I had this like need to make something um, for probably a number of reasons. Um, and so getting into it was like pretty much made in the night, um, every night for a long time. And I think my headspace and my mindset at the time kind of really naturally was infused into a lot of the tracks and a lot of the vibes that came out in it.
Yeah, and as you say that, I do hear that more and more as well too. Like I think that's another way to describe the album. It kind of feels like a night album as well, and it's funny to see that it was mainly written during the nighttime as well, because it does kind of give those vibes. I mean, there's a lot of like very relaxing moments on the album to balance out the more of the other side of it, and hearing those really like quiet moments really do kind of give off like a nighttime feel behind it, and it's a good ebb and flow, which I really appreciate.
Oh, that's really cool that you're feeling that. Um, One of the things that I feel like I was able to get across in the music with this one um, is there's a certain calmness that comes with certain minimalistic musical approaches, specifically darker minimalistic approaches. At least that's the way it affects me. And I wasn't, consciously going for that, but that definitely came out in some of the tracks, as you probably noticed. Um, and so it creates a certain mood that I think for me is like kind of transporting and puts me in a different place. And um, that's the ebb and flow that you're talking about, and that's the seance aspect of it too.
Oh, that totally does make a lot of sense, and it really does shine through, and everyone else that's a part of this album really is able to just work so well with what you're conveying through the guitar as well too. I mean, being able to have the rhythm section that you do, being able to show off those soundscapes, it just really works so well.
Thank you very much. So yeah, the personnel on the record uh, was the drummer. So I have a trio that I played my solo music live with. It was a newly formed trio after Heart Signal, um, and so Sean Denault is the drummer. He played all the acoustic drums on this record, and I played everything else on this record. So that would be, bass, guitar, obviously, keys, any electronic beats I had programmed. Um, and then it's one of the bass is one of those things that I had to play because I just hear it a certain way, and it's like the crux of my songwriting a lot of times is in the bass part. So I know exactly what I want, and that's why, and I love playing bass too. So that's why I played bass. In my trio, Stephen Lanning Cafaro out of Rhode Island is an amazing bass player, much more so than I am. But he didn't appear on the record, um, not for lack of availability or expertise. Was just what I described to you there.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, especially when you're capable of being able to play different instrumentations and you have different ideas that are going through your head, you want it to come out the way that you're envisioning it. And if you have a certain way to be able to play the guitar, play the bass, keyboards, electric drums, I mean, you want to be able to show that off, especially to the best of your own ability, especially when it's under your own name.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely not like an ownership, and I know this is not what you're suggesting at all, but just to make the point, it's not an ownership or egoic thing on my part. It's mainly just like, you're hearing things a certain way, and if you have the ability to, facilitate that in the music, then it just makes sense to bring the whole picture together yourself, or as much of it as you can. And that's kind of just the reasoning behind it.
Oh, for sure. So, thinking about that deeper, I mean, obviously known for your guitar work and the great resume that you've had, uh, uh, both recording wise, being able to play live, all these situations. I mean, what is it like for you to be able to go between all these different instruments and being able to implement them into your work?
Yeah, so I'm mainly playing guitar and bass with when I'm doing Ray Alder's music. And I'm doing basically the whole arrangement minus acoustic drums with my own music. And so I think it's kind of easy when you're writing, because as a writer, um, I don't write riffs. I don't construct songs from guitar riffs. You know, I don't write a whole song on my guitar and then start recording it and fill it out with the other things. It's like when I'm writing all of these instruments, it's like the bigger picture all comes together at the same time. And a lot of times the bass is the first thing to get recorded, or sometimes it's a keyboard line, or a keyboard motif or something like that. So it's almost like by necessity that uh, I have to kind of jump back and forth between these instruments, because it doesn't all start on guitar, and one will inspire the other and they will feed off each other. So when I'm in my studio, I'm recording something and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Now grab this one, or grab the keyboard, and okay, this part's going to go like this. And so it's really just, it's not compartmentalized. It's like they're all just right there ready to go.
And that's such a great way to do it too. I mean, instead of just like putting all your focus on one instrument until it's completely done and written out, you're able to come up with the whole instrumentation for a song. And I love that because I don't think enough people do that. I think a lot of people do just focus so much, or at least in my experience, they focus so much on like making sure that the main riffs are there first and making sure that they have like the whole idea of the song before they even start thinking of the other instrumentation. I love your approach.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Um, again, I think it's just like, embracing your strengths and recognizing your weaknesses sometimes. Cause like I hear the music I really like is sort of highly composed between all the instrumentation. And I do love a lot of like guitar driven metal too. And I think it's incredible. And I don't have it in me to do that sort of thing. It's just not where my headspace lies. So like a band like Nevermore, I started getting into Silosis recently. Um, Blowing my mind. I love it so much. But like for me to sit down and write riffs like that and have the guitar carry a whole song like that, um, it's not my strength, and it's not like necessarily how I hear things either. So I then go in this direction, but I love that direction too. You know.
Oh, of course. And just the more that I'm realizing your songwriting style, the more that it's just like hitting me about the songs that you've created in the past, and of course with this new album, and of course the new Ray Alder album, and I'm just like listening to the songwriting style and the fact again that you have all the chops to be able to do the kind of shredding stuff that you want to do, playing the progressive side. But the fact that you know what to do and what not to do for each song, you're playing for the song every time that I think about it. I mean, that is such a thing that I gravitate towards. I mean, of course, growing up, I loved when any member of a band could like shred and they would do like a whole shred album and being to do it like that. But it takes a lot of strength as a musician to know what to play and what not to play.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm like you, where I'm a fan of that kind of thing. Um, I love songs. Some of my favorite bands don't have guitar solos, and it's just, like the first one that comes to mind is like Stabbing Westward, and it's just one of my favorite bands, and um, it's just drastically different. So, I mean, I guess when you run your own music, you're creating through the filter of like, is this making me feel something? It's really easy to know when to and when not to do things. And when it comes to like the shredding and all that stuff too, I've always thought of that as kind of part textural and part dynamic, just like loud and soft, fast and slow. Um, uh, when you're playing more notes, there are greater subdivisions in the music, so it's more dense. Um, Maybe there's not a structured melody. Maybe it's a little bit more impressionistic at those moments, and you're creating some ambiguity and tension. It's so like you're thinking about the music like this, and all of those perspectives are like feeling perspectives. They're not so much, am I doing an extended dominant here and all this business? Um, that's those are excellent tools to know, and I know those things and I use those things, but um, I never would take that approach to get myself to feel something, you know. Um, and so I guess that's I just as a fan like you are, I'm a fan of music. It's just running it through that "am I feeling something" filter. It's like that's all that matters.
Oh, of course. I mean, you wanna have that emotive feel behind it as well too. I mean, whether you start with the lyrics, you wanna make sure that the music matches with it. If you're starting with the riffs, you wanna make sure that, there's room for the lyrics if you're doing it in that particular style. If you're doing all instrumentation, you wanna be able to sometimes be able to tell a story just from the instrumentation. I mean, there's so many different ways that you're able to go about it. And when you have that ebb and flow behind it, when you have the emotive feeling behind it, that can say everything all at once rather than just being able to show off your chops. I mean, it's always great to be able to show off your chops. It can be so much fun to be able to record that, listen back to it, and know that you're able to do something like that. But again, when you're able to show all the tools of your trade and you're able to expand upon that, writing simple, writing technical, writing progressive, writing shred, writing more pop sensibilities. There's so many different ways that you can go about it, but as long as you're feeling good behind the music, there's no greater feeling.
Yeah, yeah, I agree 100%. Just to piggyback on that, those points, you, you know, uh, speed is always relative. So if you just had a record that was slow all the way through, um, and you just put it on, you listened all the way through, you wouldn't think of it as like a slow record. You just think of it as like, oh, this just makes me feel the same way all the way through. Um, Likewise, if you just put on like a record that's all shredding all the way through, um, you know, it would lose its novelty and it wouldn't feel fast after a while, right? It's just the norm. So it's like that contrast, like the dynamic thing. I think it's that contrast that makes each aspect special as it comes in.
Oh, for sure. So thinking about that a little bit deeper, I mean, when you're writing something for your own material or you're writing for Ray, for example, I mean, what kind of headspace do you put yourself into when you're putting yourself into a different environment like that?
Yeah, so with Ray, he has a specific vision of what he's looking for with his solo music. And I love the direction that he likes to go in, which is typically heavier and darker. Not super proggy, super moody, always super moody. And I love that sort of stuff. And so um he usually gives me ideas of what he's looking for, and um I'm happy to, chase those ideas and, try and create something um that resonates with him that I'm also excited about because I really like, that sort of direction. Um, so that's a pretty cool matchup with him. And I'll do stuff there I'll never do with my solo music, which is much more just what am I feeling, you know? And so there's a lot more. There are fewer parameters. So I'll do there are more things that come out, more diverse things that come out in that realm. But having certain parameters also makes you do things, like I said, that you never would do if left up to your own devices. So it's a cool thing to kind of be in a part of different projects like that.
Oh, of course. And especially in a year like 2023, we're able to show off both of those sides. I mean, obviously, a few months ago with the release of the second album from Ray, one of my favorite albums of the year, without question. I just love what both of you were able to come up with for this album. And now being able to see, again, where your mindset is at here with 2023 with Sans and Black as well, just being able to hear this different side of you, still you, but just being able to see more of that repertoire going on. I mean, that's going to be a cool feeling for yourself being able to show that off in 2023.
Yeah, thank you so much for those compliments, by the way. Yeah, it's a cool feeling. I think the real cool part about it has just been that I'm making music that I really believe in, and that means something to me. I've always done that, but like in the past, when I'm like early on when I'm making records, um, you're striving for something. Oh, I'd like for my production to be better, or my tone to be better, or my, playing to be cleaner, and a huge emphasis always on the songs. Um, but now this time around, it was like, I want to make the music as like meaningful and honest as possible, and that's kind of what happened. So it's like it feels really good because if something happened and I couldn't make music anymore, I'd say, well, I got to that point and it meant something to me. And that gives me meaning in my life. It's even if there's no notoriety, it's not what I'm doing it for. It's just like just capturing that sort of expression is a special thing. And it was cool because we did that with, I say we, me and Ray did that with his record. And then I feel like even more so on my own record because it is all me, right? So it was a special thing.
Oh, for sure. And I'm so glad that you're in the position to be able to do that as well too. And that's got me very excited to see what will happen in the future as well too. I mean, of course, even though Seance in Black comes out next Friday, I mean, there's still a long line of things that are going to be going on for years upon years to come, I imagine. Is there anything that's lined up after the release of the album?
Yeah, so I'm working with a drummer who I'm a big fan of, and I kind of connected with him, and he really likes what I do. I love what he does, and we've kind of started breaking ground and writing some music together. Um, I won't say his name just because I want to wait for the project to kind of get some feet before we say, hey, we're doing this thing. Because like I said, we're just breaking ground just now. But that's like the next immediate thing I'm working on. I'm always thinking about the next solo record just because that's been, you know, that's the band I've been in the longest. I've got 5 solo albums. So Um, and it's been incredibly fulfilling to do. So I will always continue to do that. Um, so that's kind of what's on the table next.
Oh, very cool. I'll be definitely looking forward to see when official announcements come out for the new situation that'll be coming around for that. And of course, I'm glad to see the solo materials always on your mind. I mean, no matter what direction it's going to be going into next, and that's what I've appreciated, especially going back and checking out the previous albums along with Seance in Black. Is like each one feels like it has its own identity behind it, and that's got me so curious about what will happen next, being able to see this next chapter of your solo work.
Oh, thank you. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I never want to make the same record twice. Um, my first two, the first one was just saying to myself, hey, I want to make a record. And I love instrumental music, so that's what I'm going to do. It was like a huge experiment. My second one was like, I want to do fusion stuff. So there's a bunch of fusion stuff on there. And then my third record I did was after I got involved with Fates Warning. And I was just like, I'm just going to make like just music I want to hear, um, without bringing other ideas into it, be it, I'm going to shred or I'm going to make fusion or whatever. It's like, just going to make music. And then I've kind of been following that. Um, and yeah, I don't sit down and say, all right, I'm going to do another record and this worked last time. So let me try and do a little bit of that here. It's always just like, I'm constantly evolving as a fan and a listener and what's inspiring me. And I'm always trying to like explore new places musically, tonally too, and texturally, different types of guitars, that kind of stuff. I'm always trying to reach for those things.
Oh, definitely. And I'm glad you touched on it as well too, because you have been a part of one of my favorite prog bands of all time, Fates Warning, being able to be part of some recording processes and then, of course, live. How has being a part of Fates Warning affected you as a musician?
Oh, in so many ways. When I first started playing with them, I grew like exponentially just from being around guys who are at that level, you know. Um, and then whether I love Fates Warning's music, I love Jim's songwriting, and whether I want to be influenced by it or not, it's going to be an influence on me because I'm playing it with him. So that's definitely been an influence. Uh, and yeah, I mean, just kind of there's a certain you know unmeasurable kind of like spirit that you kind of like uh, you take from things, or it's just given to you, it's unspoken, and you kind of take that with you. And so like at least that's how I like to experience things. And so the guys in Fates are amazing, and my time with them has been amazing. So that definitely just is always kind of like a subconscious filter that's kind of like everything's going through as I move forward, I guess.
Oh, very cool. And I'm so glad to see that you've been a part of them as long as you have been, and still being able to do your solo work, being able to work with Ray, being able to work on material together, and of course everything else you've been able to do, part of your musical resume to this point. I mean, there's just so many cool things to talk about, and again, being able to talk about Seance in Black, of course, again coming out next Friday, which again, I've rounding things back to the beginning here, it's just like I feel again like it's a very appropriate time, like tonight I'm gonna go back and listen to it again, and it just feels so appropriate. Like it's dark outside, it's got that cool feeling behind it, just like hearing the wind outside, and then being able to hear the music behind it. It adds a really cool atmosphere to it. And of course, not that being intentional, but the fact that it was subliminal like that, where it does work like that, is just an amazing thing. But also along with that, visually, I love what's going on with the album as well too. And of course, you're wearing the album cover right now, which I feel is just like a great visual for the album, and it just fits so perfectly with it.
Wow. You're just complimenting me. Thank you so much, man.
Oh, of course.
What you're saying is it means so much because like you connecting it with nature. that's kind of, it very much is connected with nature, you know. So if you hear the wind, or you're in a thunderstorm, or you're in the mountains, or you're just, it's raining out and you're in the middle of a forest, like that's the kind of, you know, energy that breeds the kind of music that I'm doing. Um, and so going back to the artwork, um, this was a concept that I came up with, uh, and I went to the artist, Karen Bagchi. His handle is Karen in digital, and he did the art for my last record, Heart Signal. And I went to him with this concept, and it's basically, it's me. I did a pose, and then I mocked it up and sketched it out the way I imagined it. Um, and it's highly symbolic. It's highly symbolic. It's it's without getting too in the weeds with it. It's kind of like your struggle and self-reflection kind of just being infused into your art and your music. Um, and it being an imperfect fusion, but it's kind of just all coming out of you, and it kind of like comes all out into the Enzo circle, which is what it's doing. And art's imperfect, it's imperfect creation, and it's instantaneous, and that's just it's like what I'm doing. So um, that's kind of the whole concept behind the visuals there.
Yeah, and again, I can't say it enough. Like, it fits so perfectly with the music. Like, if you just look at the album cover alone, and then you have the music playing, like it just matches up so well. And again, just like the whole album cycle that's going on here, it's just so cool to see the way this album has turned out. I hope people enjoy it as much as I am right now, because again, like, I can't say it enough. It just feels perfect for this time of year. I'm glad it's coming out at this time. And next Friday, I think a lot of people are going to be able to experience that. And I just want to thank you again for taking the time to be able to talk to me about all of this. I mean, being able to work on your solo material, being able to work on everything else that you're a part of, being a fan of yours for a long time. It was just great to be able to sit down with you and be able to just get to explore your inner psyche of how you write music, how you work with others, and stuff to look forward to in the future.
Oh, Josh, that's amazing. That means so much to me. I appreciate that. Thank
Oh,
you. And your insights and questions and pointed, you know, perspective was very, very thought provoking. I appreciate that very much.
oh, not a problem. I'm glad to be able to help out with that, and be able to think a little bit more, and yeah, just to really get into the dirt with it. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
Uh, no, no, we covered the hot topics, I think. So it's very
Oh,
cool. I appreciate it.
oh, oh, of course. And again, one last time for everyone checking this out, Sans and Black coming out next Friday. I love this album. I love to see the passion behind the music that you put out, and just getting your real feelings and emotions behind this album, and really just having that maturity to be able to explore all these different feelings and emotions, and darkness and ebb and flow that goes throughout this album. And it's got me so excited about what will happen next, what will happen in the future, your other endeavors as well. And yeah, just again, just being able to get your insight into everything. This has been a fantastic time for me, and I can't thank you enough for it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Josh.
Oh, not a problem. Well, I should hopefully have this up tomorrow for people to be able to check out and everything, to be able to promote this. And I just want to thank you again for this. Yeah, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Again, like, I've been such a fan of yours. No matter the project that you've been a part of, I can always tell it's your style. I love the progression that you've been able to do over the years, and being able to talk about your solo work has just made me so happy to be able to do that. And I just want to thank you during this busy time for everything that's going on, and I hope you have a great rest of the night.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I hope you
Oh,
have a great night too.
oh, thank you. Bye bye.